love, you're listening to the Died on Ashanta podcast. I'm a resilience strategist and migrant integration specialist who has spent the last 20 years traveling, working, and studying throughout the Caribbean, North America, Europe, Africa, and Asia. As a globetrotter, I quickly learned how to bounce back from crisis and how to thrive in new and strange places. I've used my training and experience to develop a resilience-based framework, and now I help others to get over the hurdles that come with living in a foreign country. Now on this podcast, I invite you to join me on this journey of living with simplicity, joy, and resiliency. From green smoothies to goal setting, we'll cover it all. We'll talk about all the things that help us to thrive through the storm. Welcome to the Died on Ashanta podcast. This is episode 26, and today we are talking about mind management. Now, I don't know if you have ever come across the concept. I think it's called the cognitive triangle, and it basically says that our thoughts produce our feelings produce our actions or behaviors, and then our actions or behaviors produce the results. Now, basically, it's saying everything that happens in our lives start with our thoughts. Now, you're probably wondering, how does that work out, like in a realistic way? Well, let's say, for example, you need to head to the cafeteria to have lunch, but you got caught up in whatever you were doing, and time has been spent, and you're like, oh my goodness, I'm late for lunch. So that's a thought, I'm late for lunch. The feelings that you immediately generate are feelings of impatience, irritability, and frustration. And then what do you start doing? The actions. You start hurrying, you start running around, and you're in a hustle and bustle to get over to the cafeteria. In the midst of all of these thoughts, feelings, and actions, you hurry by your friend, you totally ignore them, and you probably go as far as spilling some of your food, whether on the way to the cafeteria or while eating. And then the entire experience is just really horrible, and you're even more upset than you were from the moment you had that first thought. Now let's spin all the way back, like in those movies where you get a chance to do over. Let's say you get a chance to do over. And instead of thinking, oh my gosh, I'm late for lunch, you check the time, you realize that a good portion of your lunchtime has been spent doing something else. And your thought instead is, oh, I only have 30 minutes left. Let me make the most of my time. The thoughts that you begin to generate are, the feelings, that you begin to generate are feelings of confidence. You're like, okay, I have 30 minutes, I can do this. And you even begin to feel like you're challenging yourself, like, okay, I only have 30 minutes, but I think I should be able to get this done. So you feel challenged, you feel confident, and most of all, you feel calm. Yes, maybe half an hour has gone and you're short of half an hour, but you're calm and confident because you have challenged yourself to make the most of the time. So those are the feelings you have. And then your actions get very strategic and you start looking for solutions. So you're thinking, let me not waste my time to head all the way over to the cafeteria, which is probably a good distance away. How about I try to have my lunch nearby in a more convenient space that won't waste my time? And so instead of rushing off, you take note that, oh, I have a friend who is about to have lunch in their office, and you pull up alongside your friend and you both have lunch together, and it is probably the coolest 30-minute lunch that you've had in a long time, because instead of eating by yourself, you shared the experience with a friend, and you could both relax without worrying about having to travel over to the lunchroom and back. totally different end result, totally different feelings, and it probably paints or sets the mood for the rest of your day. And that is a big difference between when you hold on or you generate and hold on to a negative thought versus a positive one. The reality is that every good or bad situation started out with a thought. It's whether the thought is positive or whether the thought is negative. So you're probably now asking yourself, so what do I do if I'm always thinking negative thoughts? Or what if a negative thought is even suggested by maybe those around me? Well, every thought that you have produces feelings, whether unpleasant feelings or positive feelings. And if they produce negative feelings, negative behaviors, and ultimately negative results, then you need to start at the very beginning by replacing those thoughts. And this is what we call mind management, because you are now deciding what to keep, what to get rid of. You are managing the thoughts that you create and that you multiply, that you add to. And so you are being encouraged today to manage your thoughts. And I'm going to suggest 2 strategies for managing your thoughts. Number 1 is with intention. And when I say intention, it means that you are going to start out each day and throughout the day with the commitment that you are going to either copy positive affirmations, and affirmations are simply thoughts that are either spoken or read or listened to. Copy some positive affirmations or create your own positive affirmations. You could write them out on cue cards. You could probably set an alarm in your phone and name the alarm by the affirming words that you want to say, and have this as something a part of your routine. You could set it up where before you eat a meal, you take out your cue cards or you take out your notebook or your phone, wherever you have stored your affirmations, and you recite them to yourself. You make it a practice. You recite these and you do these, let's say 3 times a day until you have memorized them. The second approach I would recommend is using your imagination. It's one thing to speak or read or listen to positive thoughts, but we also need to fuel our mind and feed our mind with additional imagery, not just a one sentence, but going into the feelings and sitting with those feelings and adding to the imagery by allowing your mind to dream up the more desirable outcome. And sometimes you may think, but what exactly is the more desirable outcome? How do I know what I want? Because sometimes when you've spent so much time in disappointment, in regret, it fills you with doubt and fear that things can change. And so this is when you start to look at something that we probably don't like to admit and probably even try to avoid or ignore, and that is jealousy. If you can pay attention to the things that cause you feelings of jealousy, or if you want to say admiration, then that is a hint to what you truly desire. So, for example, if you see a nice outfit and you're like, wow, I'd really love to have that outfit, then you know that gives you an indication of what you truly desire. Or maybe someone won a prize in, it could be a simple game. You're like, I wish I won that prize. I didn't want the one I got. Then it gives you an indication of what you truly desire. A lot of the times we think that jealousy is an indication that we are bad people or we have mean intentions. Jealousy is not the same thing as envy. Jealousy is simply saying that I have identified something that I don't have that I wish I had. And so it doesn't mean you have negative emotions about the people who have this thing, but you admire what you see and you think that you would appreciate it if it were in your possession. And so pay attention to the things that you either admire or that generate those feelings of jealousy, of strong desire. And that would give you an idea of what you should think about. Just imagine when someone says to you, what would you like for your birthday? You start to daydream. Allow yourself to daydream about the outcomes that you would want, and turn those dreams, those imaginations, into the statements that you recite and repeat on a regular basis. So once you set out with intention and you sit with your imagination, allow those dreams to sit in your soul and generate new feelings, then it's easier for you to manage those thoughts, to maintain a feeling of calm over a sustained period of time. And it doesn't mean that negative thoughts will disappear, but you would have now had the skills and the practice of replacing those negative thoughts with your desired outcomes. And just by focusing on the desired outcomes, you start seeing those solutions and acting in a strategic way to get the results that you desire. A book that I'd highly recommend that you check out, which does an amazing job at breaking down strategies and simple steps to manage your mind and to replace negative thoughts with positive thoughts, is by Dr. Caroline Leaf, and it's called Cleaning Up Your Mental Mess: 5 Simple Scientifically Proven Steps to Reduce Anxiety, Stress, and Toxic Thinking. You hear that? Toxic thinking. So as you seek to manage your mind and many of the toxic thoughts that are influencing your emotions and your actions and ultimately the results that you get, I would encourage you to shift what you've been doing and take control of your mind. Take control of your mind, because it's the most powerful tool, the most powerful tool that you have access to. This week's proverb comes from Ethiopia, and it says, "The wind and the imagination can travel far and wide at no cost." The wind and the imagination can travel far and wide at no cost. This is your challenge, to allow your imagination to travel far and wide to your wildest dreams, to things that you probably aren't even sure are possible in your lifetime, but you truly desire it, and brings you pleasure when you think about it. Focus on those thoughts and use that to help manage your mind. That's it for this week. As usual, I look forward to your feedback. It's always cool to hear from you as you listen in and you implement and you interact with the thoughts. I enjoy your messages. Always feel free to reach out. It's my pleasure to share these thoughts with you each and every week. Have a great week. See you soon. Thanks so much for listening, love. If you enjoyed this episode, head over to didanashanta.com. I'd love to hear your thoughts on today's message. Be sure to drop your email address so I can send you some helpful resources, updates, and the occasional music video that I may have on repeat. Make sure you subscribe and spread the love with someone you care about.